almost since there have been tanks there, have been anti-tank weapons. The tank changed the course of warfare. When they were introduced in World War I, they were the most effective killing machines that appeared to be impossible to penetrate. That was until anti-tank weapons were introduced to stop the tank on its warpath. As tanks have evolved, so have the tools to destroy them. Now the weapons that stop these mechanical beasts have become as sophisticated as the vehicles they're set to destroy. Here we look at anti-tank weapons and how they work. One of the first anti-tank weapons was the Mauser 1918 Ger. Gewehr is German for rifle, and the T stood for tank, so its name literally means tank rifle. It was essentially a bolt-action Mauser rifle on steroids that was manually breech-loaded. Unfortunately for the German army, at the time the design of the gun meant it was almost impossible to control. It lacked any method of compensating for recoil. With this and its powerful rounds plus its huge 18.5 kilograms weight meant it could only be used in supported positions. Like a lot of anti-tank rifles, it was very difficult for an ordinary soldier to use. It used a front blade and a tangent rear sight, both made of iron. A two-man crew manned the gun. A gunner and an ammunition bearer. At this time, tanks were a lot smaller than they are today, so the TG's 13.2 millimeters round could pierce a tank's armor within 100 yards. It would send its big rounds through armor, aiming to kill the crew, disabling mobility or killing the engine. There were also attempts made to destroy tanks using machine guns at the time from both sides in the war. However, these came too late to make a massive impact. These were the MG-18 TUF for the Germans and the M2 Browning for the Americans. Around 20 years later, and by the start of World War II, tanks had developed significantly, and to cope with this, anti-tank weapons needed to develop as well. Anti-tank rifles were no longer fit for purpose, but were instead used to combat armored vehicles like armored cars, half-tracks, as well as light armored vehicles. The Japanese and Finnish armies had also developed much more effective anti-tank rifles that fired massive 20 mm rounds, for example. But what the Second World War welcomed was infantry fired rocket launchers and recoilless rifles. Of course, this saw the Americans develop the famous bazooka. The Germans responded with the Panzer Schreck, as well as the Painter Foul. The British also had their own offering with the Pit. These typically would consist of a smooth bore steel tube around 5 feet long. This was open at both ends and equipped with a hand grip, a shoulder rest, a trigger mechanism, and sights. Although very effective at close range, these weapons were also very difficult to control with their massive height and weight. Despite these downsides, they were capable of devastating destruction with a direct hit. They were developed for attacking tanks and fortified positions at short range. They typically launched a 1.6 kilograms rocket that had a diameter of 6 centimeters and a length of just shy of 5 m. The key ingredient that the rocket carried was 225 G of the powerful explosive penalite. This could do damage to as much as 5 in of armor plating. With a weapon so dangerous, it was very important that operators used them correctly. They held the weapon on the shoulder with about half the tube protruding behind them. Even with proper use, they were unwieldy and gave way to further anti-tank developments. During the Cold War, the trend was to go in the direction of recoilless rifles. These had become so advanced in firing huge munitions that were able to stop tanks. Great examples of these were the M18, the M20, and M67. Courtesy of the American Army, recoilless rifles often give a similar look to the bazooka style weaponry of the Second World War, but are more accurate and less dangerous to the user and how they operate. They are direct fire guns where propellant gases, or sometimes powders or liquid, are launched from the back of the barrel in order to balance out the recoil generated by forward momentum of the projectile. This reduces backblast, which not only makes them safer, but also means much improved accuracy. This is why developed M went in this direction. Another discovery that was being looked at during this time was heat ammunition. Despite its name, heat wasn't used as the method for getting Through armor, instead, shells used a shaped charge with a cone cavity that concentrated its explosive energy into a very high velocity jet. The U.S. Army used heat ammo for its 90mm tank guns. It was at this point in the 60s that development went into directions: missile launchers that offered greater range and accuracy, and also for rocket launchers to have their weight and size reduced for foot patrols. Anti-tank guided missiles came next as technical sophistication reached new potential. A key weapon in this category is the BGM-71 TOW with the TOW standing for tube launch optically tracked wire guided. It was another development for the U.S. military and was brought into service in the early 70s. The TOW was designed to be fired from a tripod as well as vehicles and helicopters in order to reduce cost and ease logistics. It was completely future-proof, so it can still be seen in use today with the latest missiles. The missile launched is wire-guided and launched from a tube. Just like its predecessors, the missile has the warhead at the front cruciform wing in the middle, 4 control vanes, and single-stage solid propellant rocket motor at the rear. Unfortunately, despite decades since the original anti-tank weaponry, the same problems persist in that it's very heavy and cumbersome for infantry to carry. Because of this, you're more likely to see one on a light vehicle, such as the M151 MUT and HMMWV. However, there was a weapon designed to solve this problem, which also debuted in the 70s, the M47 Dragon. This was a compact guided rocket launcher, much easier to carry for infantry. It used a cone-shaped charge for huge destruction like heat ammunition. The wire guidance allowed the gunner to hit his target by keeping the crosshairs on the target until detonation. The launch tube served as the storage and carrying case for the missile, which helped make it so portable. The launcher consists of a smooth-bore fiberglass tube, breech gas generator, tracker and support, bipod battery sling, and forward and aft shock absorbers. Further development made launchers more portable for infantry to use. Now there's one weapon that shines out in the anti-tank world, the FGM-148 Javelin. The Javelin's max range is 2,500 m, but it's still portable. It's a fire and forget system that does not need a tripod. The missile locks onto the threat and can be used with direct fire or top attack flight profiles. The top attack allows its user to target a tank's top armor. This is significant because the top is often weaker than the front or sides. Unlike other launchers, the user does not need to track the rocket after it's been fired, which helps make it so efficient and deadly. It's been a long journey, but anti-tank weaponry has come a long way in over 100 years since they were introduced from a larger version of an existing rifle to today's anti-tank weapons that are now bespoke, sophisticated launchers that can target a tank from kilometers and then pierce its shell on impact. The tank is no longer the impenetrable beast that it once was. Thanks to this music weaponry, what do you think about anti-tank weapons? Let us know in the comments, and please like this video if you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Experience has shown that there are many circumstances and missions in which disposable weapons designed to be used just once and then thrown away can deliver a significant tactical advantage. It's the reason that many armed forces across the world choose to supply their infantries and special forces with a blend of reloadable weapons and carefully selected disposable weapon systems. One of these weapons is the next generation light anti-tank weapon, better known as LAW. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at this impressive weapon and see how it's helped the Ukrainian army in its fight against the Russian music. Invasion warfare has come a long way from the first primitive projectiles, with a wide array of sophisticated missiles being available to modern combatants almost 3 decades since. The AT-4 set a benchmark for disposable rocket launchers. In 2002, Saab worked on a new single-use system from scratch. With help from Thales in the UK Defense Ministry, it was an anti-armor weapon meant for the average foot soldier that emphasized being lightweight and portable the resulting weapon operated, like a rocket launcher, and combined Saab's expertise and heat-resistant materials and its own cutting-edge technology from the pioneering Bill anti-tank missile system in law, also called NBT law or RB-57, is a man-portable anti-tank missile weapon system developed and manufactured by the Swedish company Saab Balfours Dynamics on behalf of the British and Swedish defense authorities who procured the system in a joint venture. The development of Endless started in 1999 and has been in production since 2008. It's been developed for the British and Swedish need for a weapon that gives individual soldiers the capability to combat a modern tank in all conflict situations and in all environments. The weapon is used by the majority of forces throughout the Swedish and British armies and thereby constitutes an anti-tank complement to the existing light and crew-operated medium-range systems. More than 240,000 units have been produced with an estimated cost of around $33,000 to $40,000, and each unit has a shelf life of around 20 years. French multinational company Thales describes the weapon as a low-cost, lightweight precision strike missile, which has been designed to be fired from tactical platforms including fixed or rotary-winged unmanned aerial vehicles and surface platforms. The system is designed to provide a rapid reaction to a wide range of surface threats, from wheeled or tracked vehicles, tow, artillery, or static installations, naval threats from small ships and fast inshore attack craft, and an air threat from light aircraft. This portable short-range fire and forget system entered service in 2009 to replace the British Army's existing INZIS Law 80 system that is reaching the end of its operational life. The in-law unjam and man-port system can be deployed in around 5 seconds by a single soldier, day or night, with a combat range of 20 to 800 m, and a single shaped charge in law is the best anti-tank weapon for infantry and dismounted troops in complex terrain. Extremely flexible, it can attack from almost any position, from up high in a building to behind a tree or in a ditch. The law missile can be used in 2 main modes. Their overfly top attack OTA and direct attack to the first mode is effective against tanks as it attacks from above in a place where modern combat vehicles have relatively weak protection. The second mode is designed for direct fire and attacking lightly armored targets or enemy units in buildings and fortifications. The unlock consists of an anti-tank missile stored in a 115 to 150 caliber launcher, 2 built-in composite material. The launcher is fitted with the gunner's optical sight, a fold-away launch device, handles and firing mechanism, a battery package, carry straps, and firing support. A mounting rail attached to the launcher is for attaching any night sight. It is a portable shoulder launch system that can be used by a single operator. Unusually, the launcher does not have a trigger. Instead, all firing operations are controlled via an ergonomic grip mounted to the right side at the front of the launcher tube. As the in-law is a single-use weapon, it cannot be reloaded. Another non-standard in in-law is the temperature range at which the system operates efficiently. Unlike other competitors in this field, ENLA operates in the temperature range of 38 to plus 63 degrees C, weighing in at only 12.5 kilograms. The system is light, easy to use, disposable, and completely maintenance-free. The missile is first shot out of the launcher with a low-powered ignition system, after which its main rocket ignites and propels it to the target, making it possible for troops to conceal their whereabouts. Unlike many other anti-tank weapons in law, does not rely on an active target-seeking system. Instead, it uses a predicted line of sight targeting, incorporating magnetic and optical sensors to rapidly travel to the target location. No lock-on signature is required for moving target. The operator maintains tracking for at least 2 to 3 seconds. The software embedded in the missile's internal navigation system makes a record of the operator's aiming, movement, and computes the flight path, which will intercept the target. After launch, the missile flies autonomously along the pre-programmed flight path controlled by an inertial guidance system. It is unnecessary for the operator to consider the target distance as long as it's within the range. The gunner can break off and start up a combat sequence any number of times. The missile can be deployed at targets at ranges down to 20 m and to over 600 m. The missile can also be launched immediately without tracking when an unexpected target appears. The time from target detection to target hit is approximately 5 seconds, and LW can be used to attack from almost any position, from the top of a building, from behind a tree, or even from a trench. Operators can fire at an angle of 45 degrees and shoot from inside the building, from the basement, or from another shelter outside the range of most tanks. In direct attack mode, and log can be used against unarmored targets, including trucks, buses, and helicopters, or also fired on buildings where it can cause significant damage. The launch tube has a mount for any thermal imaging or night vision sights, which also increases the effectiveness of these weapons. The soldier selects top attack mode to engage tanks and armored vehicles in order to strike the least armored area on the vehicle's roof. In the overfly top attack mode, the missile flies about 1 m above the line of sight. The missile sensor initiates the warhead above the roof of the target in the field. This combination of mobility, flexibility, and destructiveness is a game changer when law operators don't need a platoon to attack tanks. They can train an ordinary soldier to use the system in an hour, where tank operators and advancing forces could once track down anti-tank platoon to neutralize the opposition. They now face a threat that is far harder to locate and more lethal. The UK government has delivered well over 4,000 anti-tank weapons, including Laws and Javelin missiles, to the armed forces of Ukraine for deployment against Russian forces during the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. Although the Javelin is figured prominently in the past few months, its $176,000 cost limits production compared to the Law's $3 to $40,000 price tag. It is currently the most numerous high-tech infantry weapon in Ukraine and reportedly responsible for 30 to 40% of Russian tank losses, making it, according to at least one senior officer, the weapon of choice for the Ukrainian army. Since 2009, the Law has found numerous new customers with significant orders from Finland, Indonesia, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Switzerland, and the Ukraine, and, of course, the people who manufactured and designed the weapon, Sweden and the UK. To date, there have been more than 24,200 systems built, with production still ongoing. What do you think of the insane power of it all? Let us know in the comments, and please like this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Music. Images of Ukrainian troops carrying Javelin missile launchers on their shoulders have flashed around the world, making the anti-tank weapon a symbol of Ukrainian resistance to Russia's invasion. Western states that want to support Ukraine militarily without entering into direct conflict with Russia have massively stepped up arms deliveries to the Ukrainian army since Moscow launched its invasion on February 24th. According to a senior US official, the Ukrainians have already received some 177,000 anti-tank weapons from various Western countries, including Javelin launchers. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at Javelin and exactly how capable it is. Music is the first anti-tank guided missiles were deployed in the late 1950s and early 1960s. They employed manual guidance systems requiring the operator to steer the missile to the target by wire with a joystick or similar control device. Examples include the British Vigilant missile and the Soviet Sagar, one of the most widely produced of all anti-tank guided missiles. One drawback of such weapons was the extensive training required to operate them. Another was that the weapon crew was forced to remain in the firing position, possibly exposed to danger, until the missile had struck its target. In the mid-1960s, semi-automatic guidance systems, which required the operator only to keep the weapon sight pointed at the target while the missile was in flight, reduced the difficulty of using anti-tank guided missiles guidance by wire, radio, or laser. Many weapons of this type, such as the U.S. TIL missiles, the Chinese Hong'an-A, and the Russian Kornet, remained in service into the 21st century. In the mid-1970s, the U.S. Army adopted the M47 Dragon anti-tank guided missile. It was a shoulder-fired weapon with a wire guidance. This anti-tank missile had a reliable design and very good performance. However, by the late 1980s, the M47 became outdated. Its effective range was limited to 1,000 m. Also, penetration power of the M47 was insufficient to defeat the latest main battle tanks with heavy armor, so the U.S. Army awarded a contract to develop a new anti-tank guided missile to replace the M47 Dragon, the FGM-148 Javelin, or Advanced Anti-Tank Weapon System. Median is an American-made portable anti-tank missile system in service since 1996 and continuously upgraded. Javelin was developed and produced for the U.S. Army and Marine Corps by the Javelin joint venture between Lockheed Martin in Orlando, Florida, and Raytheon in Tucson, Arizona. In 1991, the first test flight of the Javelin succeeded, and in 1994, the first firing test was successful with the missile hitting the target at a range of 2,000 m. In 1995, mass production of the FGM-148 Javelin began, followed by delivery to the U.S. Army and Marine Corps. In 1996, the Javelin has been exported to about 20 countries, including Australia, France, and the United Kingdom. It was widely used during the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. In Iraq, it destroyed several T-55 Type 69 and Assad Babel T-72 tanks, along with many military trucks. In Afghanistan, it was successfully used against Taliban bunkers and fortifications. Currently, the FGM-148 Javelin is one of the most advanced portable anti-tank guide missile systems in the world. It can destroy any current main battle tank. It can also target low-flying helicopters. Only some existing anti-tank missiles, such as Israeli Spike, can compare with the Javelin. A close copy of the Javelin, called the HJ-12, recently emerged in China, which is similar specifications and capabilities as the Javelin. The Javelin is a man-portable fire-and-forget type weapon. It is shoulder-fired but can also be installed on the tripod or tracked and wheeled. Armored vehicles. Currently, the M3 Bradley cavalry fighting vehicle can use Javelin missiles instead of the TOW missiles. The Javelin missile system is operated by a crew of 2 and consists of 2 parts, including the command launch unit and launcher tube missile. The command launch unit is reusable, while the launcher tube is disposable. The operator must attach a tube with a missile to the command launch unit before each shot. After each shot, the operator detaches the empty tube and attaches another one with a missile for the next shot. The command launch unit has multiple channels with a thermal imager for surveillance, scouting, and target prioritization. It can operate at night and in all weather conditions. The gunner can choose the best channel depending on environmental conditions. When the gunner determines the target, coordinates are sent to the missile seeker. The missile then locks on the target before launch, and during flight it guides automatically. During that time, the operator can detach an empty tube and, from the command launch unit, attach another tube with a missile. This all takes about 15 seconds. Alternatively, the crew can leave a firing position. There are 2 modes of attack: top attack and direct attack. The top attack flight mode is used to engage tanks and other armored vehicles. After the launch, the missile climbs upward to 330 to 630 foot altitude and dives at a 45 degrees angle towards the target. This method is most suitable in destroying main battle tanks because most of them have only minimal level of armor protection in the upper part of the turret. In direct attack mode, the missile flies directly to the target. This mode is used to engage buildings, bunkers, weapon SCWS, and concentrations of enemy troops. In the direct attack mode, the Javelin can also engage low-flying helicopters. The missile has a small thermal imaging TV camera in the nose, in a computer that is sufficiently sophisticated that once locked onto a tank, it will follow it autonomously even if it is moving. This 8.4 kilograms warhead has a tandem-shaped charge for penetrating, explosive reactive armor. This first charge detonates the armor and the second penetrates the vehicle. The Javelin can detect any known enemy armor. The Javelin missile also has a soft launch capability. In the first stage of the launch, the missile is thrown forward about 20 m via a small compressed gas cylinder, which is located at the back of the missile. When the missile is thrown away from the operator, the main engine turns on. This feature makes it suitable for use in an urban environment and closed areas such as buildings without any risk for the gunner. Maximum firing range of the Javelin is 2,500 m. The cost of the shoulder-fired system stands at $78,000, including the launching system and the missile, which alone costs around $78,000. The Javelin proved to be an extremely effective weapon in 2022. Ukrainians used thousands of these missiles against Russian armored targets. At some point, the Pentagon reported that out of 112 Ukrainian Javelin missiles launched, 100 missiles reached their targets. That is an 89% hit probability. This missile proved to be extremely effective against even the most heavily armored Russian main battle tanks such as the T-80 BVM, T-90, and T-72BS. Basically, the Javelin proved to be a one-shot O'Neill type of weapon against hostile armor. The question is, will Ukrainian anti-tank